Just to be formal about it, this is our official meeting with the Stevens, Mr. Christopher, who's our director of jazz studies at the CMA, and Stephen Spink, who is a famous alumni and has a really cool story of growing up basically at the RMCMA. So do you want to tell us what you're up to right now, just so people know that, and then we can just chat about the past a bit?
Sure, yeah. So right now I'm living near Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm playing with the U.S. Air Force Heartland of America band. So it's one of several regional bands that are full-time active duty Air Force that are stationed around the country. Um, what that gig looks like right now for us is we have it's a small band, so it's 18 people total. We have a brass quintet plus a drummer and a vocalist and a rock band. Most of the time, those two groups do things like generally separately. They'll go out and perform separately. But every once in a while, for like a big show or something like that, they'll play together, and we'll do some transcriptions and some like rearrangements of sometimes it's like old school swing big band tunes. Sometimes it's more like rock horn band stuff like Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, and a lot of variety. But yeah, so it's a combination of a brass quintet gig and a little bit of horn band stuff.
Very cool. And so when did you figure out that you were going to be a professional musician?
I decided that I wanted to I really decided that I wanted to be a professional musician before, or the summer before my junior year of high school. What sort of really did it for me, what flipped the switch was going to Interlochen.
Ah,
So I had been really involved with music for years and years before that. And it was kind of just that's sort of a decision point for a lot of people in high school of, what's the next step, what do I want to do. And my brother Daniel had been to Interlochen the summer before that, and it's such a crazy intense and immersive experience that you walk out of something like that, either going like, this is for me, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, or like, I love music, but this isn't. Yeah, I want to have a day job or something like that.
yeah,
Um, and so
gotcha.
I came out of Interlochen really pumped about music. So that's when I kind of decided that that's what I wanted to do. Um, and then started making decisions from that point, kind of like setting up lessons and preparing for auditions and looking at music schools and all of that kind of thing.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And Mr. C, I understand you had this guy as a student at some point.
Yes,
Is that
yes.
right?
Oh, I'm just sitting here going, wow, my colleagues as educators know how this feeling is when you have somebody cross your path and involve himself in your program and do what Stephen did as far as growing in the program and contributing to the program. And then the neatest part of all of this is that he went away, but he's still doing it. So, as an educator, you just tingle about that sort of thing. You just really get excited. I think I should tell a quick story about Stephen and I had a bus ride together. Now, I don't know if you're going to remember this, Stephen, but we were out at the Anaheim ITG conference, which is the International Trumpet Guild.
I
And
do.
Stephen was a participant with his Baylor gang. They were performing a brass group, and we had heard that performance and we're thrilled by it. I mean, his college career has been fabulous at Baylor. But anyway, we happened to get on a bus together to go to an event that night, and we sat together. And again, Stephen, I don't know if you remember, but I was just overwhelmed by the fact that here's a former student who just performed not only the stuff that we did in his younger days, but now in his more mature days was still going at it and doing very well. And then we got into a little bit of chatting, and I was trying to pick his brain as to about what's next. And Stephen sort of alluded to the military part of this thing. Said he was thinking about it, and so I told him my story about my wish to be in the military back in the day. And a quick version of that story is that in 1968-ish, somewhere in there, Vietnam was going crazy. So all of us musicians graduating from college were trying to get into service bands. because nobody wanted to carry a rifle, and we were all afraid of being drafted in those days. And so Steve C here decides, well, I'm gonna run down to Colorado Springs and see if I can get in that fabulous group called the NORAD Band or maybe the Air Academy. Let's see what I can do. So I went down to audition at NORAD, and I get there to audition, and I look in the room, and there's sitting in the chair auditioning is Bobby Shue. And I'm going, oh, okay, I get it. And it was a true story back then. Every excellent musician in the country was auditioning everywhere because nobody wanted to carry a rifle in Saigon. So I went across the street literally to the Air Academy, the Air Force Academy, and was allowed to audition with the Falconers over there back in the day. And the audition was this. Big Sergeant said, young man, there's a practice room, go warm up. Okay, he gave me 10 minutes to warm up. I warmed up as succinctly as I thought I knew how. And in those days, I had just graduated from college, and I thought I was a stud. You know, I'm the hottest trumpet player in Boulder, Colorado. So anyway, I warm up, I come out, and he says, your audition, young man, is with the Falconers, and you'll be playing the lead trumpet part. And I said, oh, okay. So I go get in the trumpet section, and just I'm surrounded by guys with stuff hanging off their sleeves and stripes and medals. And so, okay, I'm going to do my best, put my horn up. And the tune is one of those fold-out arrangements. It goes about 8 pages. And he goes, all right, here we go. 1, 2, ah, 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 ah. And, you know, in about page 2, I'm dead. I'm toast. So I feel this hand on my shoulder. And the guy's name was Sergeant Tardy. Says, young man, follow me. So I leave the rehearsal, go to a practice room. And he goes, you know, this is a tough time to be a trumpet player trying to audition for our groups. We can't accept you into our group, but you know, you seem like you're okay enough to give you a letter. So they actually gave me a letter to be in the Air Force band program at the time. Again, long story short, I never did have to use that letter because I was deferred as a teacher shortly after that and made it through all of that time in my life as an educator. And but the thing that excited me about our conversation, Stephen, on that bus ride was that you brought back those intense memories in me. Plus, you had some thoughts. You had some real good thoughts about how you can continue playing the trumpet daily, improve, be great, and you did, and you went and did it. So, way to go.
Thank you. I do remember that bus ride, actually. I remember that well. It's always it's always a pretty fun experience to run into. Yeah, I get like former teachers at conferences like that. I've only had a few moments where I've run into someone that I wasn't kind of actively studying with, but the times that I have like that one have been, yeah, it's sort of one of those like small world full circle kind of moments. So I was really glad to see you there.
Tell me just, I'm sorry, Kathy, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought because I know that look. But anyway, tell me what's ahead. You know, I mean, are you going to think service for a while, or are you just hanging out, or what's up?
I'm honestly not sure. So I signed for a 4-year enlistment, and I'm coming up on the 2-year mark of that. So I started in August. That's when I went to basic training, all of that good stuff. I didn't actually get to the band here until mid-October. So I've got 2 years and change left. I'm not totally sure if I'm gonna be a lifer yet or not. Speaking of auditioning for the Air Force Academy band, I was actually there not too long ago because they're becoming, you know, premier status again, so they're re-auditioning for all of these spots, and I shot my shot and the didn't get the gig. Would have definitely gone anyway. That's you know, that's how auditions work. Those kind of experiences that they add up. And I had a pretty similar moment playing with the brass quintet. So the second half of that audition was with the Academy Brass Quintet. And so, you know, half an hour into an audition, just playing all the solo stuff and sight reading, and then the quintet walks in, and it's just like, all right, here we go. Yeah, similar kind of experience there. Um, we a lot of that stuff was pre-prepared, so there was some sight reading, but it wasn't quite like being tossed into the fire like it sounds like you were. But anyway, I had to actually answer your question for what's next. Yeah, I'm here for another couple of years at least. I'm shooting to actually get a short stint in one of the overseas bands. That would be a really cool opportunity within the Air Force program that I'm in now. There's a band in Germany, there's a band in Japan, there's a band in Hawaii, and everybody that's been there has said like, yeah, if you get the opportunity to go to one of those bands, the places that they get to go and the people they get to play for are pretty insane. So that'd be a really cool opportunity as auditions for the band in Colorado Springs continue to cycle through because they sort of come in waves. As auditions for that band and the DC band come up as well, I'll take those as I'm able. Yeah, kind of continue to strive to rise through the ranks. But for now, looking in the short term for what's next for us, we're getting back to playing some live concerts, which is nice. We've got a quintet show this Sunday, and we got some more like rock and pop and some horn band stuff going on this summer. Um, I'm getting some opportunities to go on tours and stuff with some of the other bands just because they need trumpet players. Um, so yeah, we're getting back to playing live concerts, and it's pretty thrilling.
Yeah, it's so thrilling. It's so exciting to make music in person again. It's been a long 15 months or 18 months, whatever. I want to back up, Stephen, and maybe if you would talk a little bit about how you started. And I can't remember who your teacher was. Was it Don Kramer?
It was, yes.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
then
so
I
we
do.
we my brother and I came to I think he probably talked about this in his
Yeah.
too, but we came to the instrument petting zoos. And I still just have like little bits and pieces of memories from that, just how much fun that was to us trying to make sounds on all the different instruments and stuff. So we were coming to RMCMA stuff from a really young age, and our parents like took us to see the symphony. They took us to concerts, so we were involved in music from when we were wee lads. Um, Eventually, I started taking lessons with Don Kramer at CMA, um, and yeah, it's as far as like a first like real deal lesson teacher for trumpet, not just like goofing around, like trying to make noises on a garden hose that we had sitting around the house. As far as like a real deal trumpet teacher, she was kind of the best I could have hoped for at the time, I think. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very caring teacher, very invested in how I did when I came into lessons prepared. I always remembered it seemed like I blinked, and that the half hour once we moved up to hour lessons were gone. And remember, I would actually say at the end of lessons like, man, I wish school went this fast, like because it just felt like that because yeah, we were just both so focused and invested in the music.
Yeah. She's a great teacher, and um, I'm sure she'd say similar things about having you as a student. Um, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Sorry about that, Mr. C.
Well, I
Oh,
can.
I know. It was when I talked to your parents, they're they say, oh, we are just mystified about how both you and Daniel kind of have taken this path because they're not musicians, but they're still very involved in the center, which is really very cool for us. So yeah, I don't know.
I think it's a testament to the lengths that they went to uh, to expose us to music, and the fact that when we said like I want to take piano lessons or I want to take trumpet lessons, my brother had to beg for a little while to take violin, um, just because of I think natural reservations with the idea of having a violinist practice. And I'm sure if he heard me say that, he would counter by complaining about my constant trumpet practice. And honestly, I don't blame him at all. Um, but I think it's a testament to the lengths that they went to support us and expose us to music, and also just the fact that we had something like CMA so nearby. I mean, I actually meant to mention your classes, Mr. C, when you were asking about how I got started with Don both, and then kind of dipping my toe in the water with jazz with Mr. C's summer programs. There are a lot of people that live in much bigger communities with that have a lot to offer that don't have something like CMA, that has like really good, really invested teachers right there, that are willing to give people opportunities to learn those kinds of things.
Yeah, Mr. C had jazz in the summer here for forever. Well, you're still doing it actually, right? But not in the camp format.
No, no more camps, but Stephen participated in those years, and he was a thrill as a young guy. But here's the biggest story about him. He survived the summer thing and grew up a little bit, and we put him into the regular program with the old guys. Mm-hmm. And here's the deal: his contributions back then were twofold. He was those, he was a little shy. I'll use that word for a while. We had to sort of look at him funny once in a while, like play your horn, just play the damn thing.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. But and he did, and his tone grew, and his actual sound production grew. I think you were studying privately with a jazzer. What was his name?
I studied some with Al Hood in high school as well.
And Al's a big forward. He's a big blonde guy. So what happened was that Stephen grew up right under our sight, literally. So what happened in the group was that he started pushing the adults around a little bit. As he got into improvising, that was kind of the form to him for a while, and it was a struggle, like it is for a lot of young players. But his contributions became greater, and then all of a sudden he's chasing the big guys around, including his teacher, me. So I'm having to think a little bit when I'm okay. Is my solo going to be better than Stephen's tonight? That kind of, and it was great for all of us. And by the time he was mature enough and graduating from high school, he was finishing his time with us. He was all-state caliber, and it was a thrill to be a participant and see that growth. And from a little kid that just brought his horn in and went to a guy that walked in and went, okay, anybody want to play? Want to play now? Let's go, come on, and that kind of stuff. And I think he's carrying it on, obviously, in the service. And so that's my story for him, is that keep it up, dude.
Thank you.
I have to say that it is totally gratifying for me to have seen the trajectory of the school over 2.5 decades, and to be sitting here. Here's a master teacher who's been on our faculty for a long time, and a really successful student who I think you came here first as a Music Together student, maybe. Is that true?
I think so.
You had the toddler classes? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think Daniel mentioned something about that, which I don't completely remember, but it's so cool because, we have this common language of music and this common thing among us. And it's just, to have you still on staff, Mr. C, and to see where you've gone, Stephen, it's, I don't know, there really aren't words for it, but I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So what would you say, both of you actually, what would you say to a student like you coming in, maybe, I don't know, 5th grade, just picked up a trumpet?
Good question. I think probably the two things that I would say, and it would it's a tough question because it kind of depends on the student, and I guess what their aspirations are. But regardless of what their aspirations are, where they are, where they want to be, I think the two things I would probably say are like if you're in this because you enjoy it, take opportunities, take any and every opportunities, whether that's chances to play or chances to learn from people, both formal and informal settings. Just put yourself out there, take opportunities to play and to learn from other people, and I guess the second one would be to like really 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 enjoy it, because that can get lost, especially as people start to get serious about it, and practice becomes really really regimented, and you start to get into these bigger ponds with heavier cats and people who are really really serious about it. It's easy to kind of squeeze the life out of just enjoying playing music. So make sure that you're taking the time and being deliberate about it and enjoying the opportunity to play music.
That's some pretty great advice.
Well, I totally agree with that enjoyment part, Stephen. That's a key. I'm always curious when I see somebody young anymore. I don't work with young players a lot like I used to, but why did you choose that instrument is kind of the question I have, because I'm interested in how they got to the horn, what their vision of it is. And of course, they have some pretty interesting, a fifth grader has some pretty interesting tales about that. But I think of my own reason for starting. And then I compare it to what I'm hearing sometimes from people. But for me, it was, I got to go hear Louis Armstrong play live. And that's all it took. Was I stood at the front of the stage, and I was in sixth grade then, and just went, oh, I get it. That I want to do that. And at that point, I thought I could play like Louis Armstrong. I'm still trying to figure out how to play like Louis Armstrong. But that was what kind of fired me up to get started. And so then I put up with what happened next, was taking lessons and that stuff you're talking about, where you have the rigor of it all and the reality that there's some work on your part, and that the pages and this and that and the whole note and the whole works has to be done. And so it helped me get past some of that initial stuff. But I'm always curious about why kids get started, and sometimes mommy made me, that kind of thing. But it's fun.
Were you drawn to trumpet? I mean, was that it? You weren't going to play both of you. I mean, we weren't going to play the flute or piano or cello. It was trumpet.
Go, Stephen. Go. What?
It's funny that you mentioned flute, because I very briefly, I actually did play the flute. But so I started on piano when I was very young, and just because whenever there was music playing, I kind of perked up. I paid attention, so I wanted to do something in music, and piano seemed like a good place to start. And I think it was like maybe a year and a half or so of lessons, and it was kind of obvious that it just wasn't the right fit. Piano still to this day is not my thing. I muddled my way through the requirements for the degree, but I'm just not a good piano player. And so I quit that for a while, and still wanted to do something with music. So several years down the line, I had figured out how to play a piece of garden hose that we had laying around the house from a DIY Halloween costume. But like buzzing my lips against like the metal hose thing, and making the sound and like playing a couple of different partials and the whole shebang. So I figured out how to do it, and I'd always been drawn to the sounds, listening to recordings, particularly Wynton Marsalis, just like little cassette tapes or CDs that of like compilations of different like jazz music, definitely some Louis in there as well, of kind of these great jazz artists. So I figured out how to make the sound, and I already knew that I liked the sound from listening to recordings. So that was kind of what drew me to the trumpet.
Yeah, and we know about you, Mr. C, but tell us anyway.
No, my story is pretty quick. My father was an accountant in the business world and had not much to do with music. My mother was minored in music and played piano, so there was some sense of something going on there. But I went to my father and I said, Dad, I want to play the trumpet. And he said, trumpet. I said, yeah, the trumpet. He said, well, let me look into this. So he worked in the athletic department, and he went right over to music school. And he knew the trumpet teacher at the time over there, Frank Baird. And he said, my son wants to play the trumpet. What should I get him? So, he used his credentials to get me a horn. So he brought a horn home, and off we went. And I actually ended up taking from the trumpet teacher at CU in my early days. And that's how I got started. But it was trumpet. There was no other, no. Flute? What's a flute?
That's a good question. So, well, we don't need to go there. So tell me about, I'm interested to know what it was like this past year, this COVID year, because Stephen, you've got a full-time gig, and Mr. C, your combos and ensembles just stopped. I mean, everything stopped dead. The music world just stopped. But what was that like for you?
So for us, yeah, I mean everything came to a grinding halt very quickly. One week we had 3 concerts in a row, playing at nursing homes, actually veterans homes, just like playing little like 40 or so minute sets for these veterans. And yeah, one week we had 3 of those in a row, and then right at the end of that week, everything came to a grinding halt very quickly. We stopped coming into the office. We all took our computers home, and everything, all of the gigs for the next several months were canned immediately. And so things came to a grinding halt there for a while. After a little bit, we we were basically like, okay, so we still have a job to do. We still have, looking at it from a military perspective, we still have our mission. We still need to do what the bands do. We just can't play for people in person anymore. So what does that look like? And for us, it a lot of that took the form of making videos and recordings and things like that. So suddenly everybody was, a student of the COVID school of audio engineering. People like me who had, very little experience with, sophisticated audio setups were just like, how does this work? How do I work a DAW? Like, how do I do all of these things? I picked up video editing, because we needed to make these videos, and they were kind of asking around in the band, like, who has experience doing this? And crickets. And it seemed like something interesting to do, and it seemed like something productive to do. So I was like, put me in, coach. So I kind of threw myself in the fire a little bit, and learned how to edit videos, and put together those kind of, multi-pane, we call them Brady Bunch style videos that everybody was, putting on Facebook for a while when live performances weren't a thing. And eventually, as kind of protocols got more clear, we started to be able to play some ceremonies and stuff like that. When weather was nice last summer, we played a couple of live shows. We made some comparatively to stuff that we had just been videoing on our phones. We made some high caliber holiday show productions in lieu of like a real holiday show. Yeah, it was. There was still kind of like a lot of that feeling of what do we do? Yeah, a lot of solo practicing, just me in this room playing my Clark studies, trying to stay in shape and trying to figure out ways to still enjoy playing the trumpet when playing with other people wasn't a thing. So
if someone watching this were interested in seeing one of those videos, could they do that? Are they findable?
They are, yeah. So if you search for the USAF Heartland of America band on Facebook, they're on the videos are on Facebook. We've got a YouTube channel as well. Same kind of thing there.
I imagine we have some folks that might want to follow you.
Yeah.
Or follow the band after hearing you speak.
Definitely.
What did you do during COVID, Mr. C?
Well, that last part that Stephen mentioned, that in the room practicing alone, trying to devise ways to be entertaining to me, I cleaned the crap out of my horn. I mean, my trumpet, seriously, to this day is so clean now, I'm embarrassed about it. I mean, but did that. But one of the good things that I did accomplish was that Louise and one of my former students in New Mexico, who's a trombone teacher down there now, hooked me up with some private lessons with Bobby Shute. And so that happened, I guess about the third month of being shut down. And that gave me something to do, because Bobby was as crazy about the thing as anybody, but he has a system, and he introduced me to his thing, and pages of this and pages of that. But it included a lot of warm-up stuff and stuff just to get me back into caring about playing and playing better, actually doing some things that I hadn't thought about. I haven't had a private lesson for 50 years. So it was kind of like, okay, let's see, what do I do? And we did it on Zoom, and it was awkward for both of us, and Bobby didn't like it either. And so here's these two old farts, going through stuff, and he still plays like a monster, although he's had some really severe health issues. So he's slowed down a lot, but he still has all this stuff. So that helped me a lot. And then, not too long after that, well, I guess we're talking months still, but Kathy here decides that it's okay to have my combos meet. And
well, it was really more like the governor and the CDC. It wasn't me. I don't have that,
Yeah, but you're it, so don't worry about it. I listened to you before I listened to the governor anytime. There's a thing. She said, come on in and do some combos. So we figured out how to do that. And man, I got back into it. It's the happiest day in a long time. So I'm meeting with 2 combos, now 3 coming up here in the summer, and it's working. And so I get to play again in a real fashion and try to make things cook. I wish you were around, Stephen, to contribute your talents to my combo, because right now, the old guys, some of them are still there, you might even know, but we need some pushing around. We need a stud like you to come in the band room and go, oh no, it goes like this. And that would be helpful. So if you're in town, there is a gig for you anytime. Come over, bring your horn. And are you writing anything, by the way, now? Are you writing charts, arrangements?
I've done a little bit of arranging for the quintet, and just kind of like messing around with some things in my own time. But I actually just we recorded the album a long time ago, pre-COVID, actually, just like almost immediately pre-COVID. But I helped start a band in college. That is, it started out as kind of like a folk jazz sort of fusion hybrid, and it's grown and changed quite a bit since we started, just like literally playing on the side of the street. But we recorded an album pretty close to like immediately pre-COVID, and the whole thing was just released last week. So we were waiting for kind of an opportune time when things weren't super saturated. So that's all original music, and I actually don't do much of the writing for that, but most of that stuff is improvised. So yeah, that's kind of like another creative outlet sort of thing. But
Was that available somehow?
yeah, so that's on Spotify. We have social. The band is called Days and Nights. We have social media accounts on Facebook and things like that. But if you search for Days and Nights on Spotify or Apple Music or something like that, you'll find us as well there.
What's the album called?
The album is called Breathe, Speak, Sing, Groove.
Okay. We'll get that out there in a newsletter.
Say that again, the title.
The album, Breathe, Speak, Sing, Groove.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Congratulations. I didn't know you were up to that.
Oh, thank you.
That's very exciting.
Well, if you ever need a vehicle to experiment with, I have 3 levels of combo now, but the advanced group, and we could, if you got a chart you want to test out on something, or the big band will start meeting again in September.
Awesome.
So, if you want a chart, write a chart and send it our way, we'd be glad to be your guinea pig.
Sure thing. I've got an arrangement that I had to do for a school project, a big band arrangement of on Green Dolphin Street, kicking around on a computer somewhere. I'll send that your way.
Oh, cool.
Okay, this is getting better and better. This is because I want to hear you all play that in your fall concert. Okay. I can ask, right?
If it's good. It was a student effort, so if you think it sucks, then no obligation to play it.
Well, that's all right. Did you write an oboe part for it by any chance?
I did not. I was tempted, but no.
A very good idea to not have an oboe part in that.
Kathy over there, she's an excellent oboe. She doesn't play anymore, but she could pick it up quickly.
Yeah.
So we're not going to stick a part in there for oboe.
Yeah. We'll find you a different oboe player then. Yeah. Wow, this is very fun. Yeah. When are you back in town? Are you?
I actually don't know yet. So we've got a period of kind of just like a blanket leave period after most of our shows this summer. So that's like mid-July. But I don't have plans for that quite yet. Yeah, a tour came up with the band from Texas that I'm gonna try to play with them for that. But yeah, to actually answer your question, I'm not totally sure. But the next time I make it back, I'll definitely let you know.
That's pretty great. We kind of we just kind of go after you and Daniel because the school was in its infancy 20 years ago, and to come out the other end and have both of you actually in the profession is kind of rare in a family and kind of rare in a school like this, a community school. So it's again really gratifying. It's just really awesome to see what you've become and where you're going. And yeah, we're just pretty proud of you. Just have to say that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for anyone else watching, the Spink family has a studio named Studio 7, just kind of right around the corner from where I am right now. And that's also very cool because if you can walk by and see the name of the studio and go, oh yeah, those guys. It's pretty meaningful from where I'm sitting anyway. So I just want to say thanks, and thanks for taking the time to talk to us both.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad to have you, Mr. C, because there's connections all over the place. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about having music back in life again. Yeah, it's just amazing. So
I am too.
Who knew there would be a pandemic and that we'd come out the other end of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, parting thoughts? Are we good?
I guess just thank you for reaching out, but kind of like a bigger thank you, Mr. C, and everyone that makes CMA happen. I owe you a debt of gratitude that can't really be put into words. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you have done. Thank you for building what you've built in the CMA. It's a really incredible and pretty exceptional institution. So yeah, keep fighting the good fight, and thank you for what you do.
Oh,
hey,
thanks.
Stephen, from me to you, buddy, thank you for coming my way, and thanks for keeping going, and just do whatever you want to do, but keep doing it like you're doing it. And thanks for your service, man.
Yeah,
of course.
Thank you for your service. And if even if the Air Force gang is this way, I want to come here. You can do that, especially if you have to do a parade. I want to see you in the parade. I want to see you doing that parade thing. Just kidding, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
Mr.
also. What's going to happen with this, I think, is that we'll have the recording up on the website and probably a transcription. So we'll be able to have links to things so people can click through and find you on Facebook or find a recording or something like that. So I think we'll have some interest, and yeah, thank you. Huge thanks.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Yeah. So go play your trumpets, you guys.
I will.
And take good care.
You too.
Okay.
Bye. Good
Bye.
to see you, Mr. C.